That's right. Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And Blue Dragon 5.
Well, folks, a new Pixar movie is not in theaters right now, but it is on Disney Plus. And what more is that it's done by a director who has cut her teeth very much so in the shorts department. And this is kind of becoming a running trend for Pixar, kind of taking their talent pool from the short side of things and giving them the feature films. And Dragon and I, we both agreed that we've been really liking that approach. So we've talked through the Spark shorts. These aren't the Spark shorts, Dragon. These are specifically the theatrical Pixar shorts. Dragon, can you give the official ruling on what a movie needed to do to make it onto said list?
Yeah, simple. If it were based on the film properties, then, if there's something like Party Central, the Monsters University short, or Lamp Life, or any like Forky Ask a Question, anything like that, it would not fall into the parameters of what we're looking for. These got a theatrical release either at a SIGGRAPH conference or basically before a Pixar film. That's what all these are. 20 in total.
Uh-huh.
Which is almost on an annual basis for them. Like almost every Pixar film got a short, with few exceptions in kind of like the latter, kind of recent half. And again, you got to remember, when the Pixar films started coming out, what they did is Pixar started with shorts in the 80s. And I believe it was 86 onward. Yeah, I think it was 86 onward. Anyways, yeah, from 86 to 89, essentially they had these shorts kind of in the canon. They started attaching them to the films retroactively on home video release. That's how Tin Toy ends up on Toy Story and Knick-Knack on Finding Nemo, and you get the idea.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So that's the only caveat. All right. So Dragon, any first impressions on the list so far, or do you want to just dive right into it?
Again, folks, as we get,
I do want to point out that I love the serendipity of the fact that there are 20 shorts exactly when we decided to do this.
Yeah, and Turning Red does not have a short because I guess it's either just the production thing. I don't know if Lightyear's going to get a short or not. That'll be like the first time they're going to be returning to the theatrical short window with Lightyear, if they do have one. So that'll be big. So we are at 20 films, just very serendipitously indeed, sir. Yes. Yeah, so again, folks, the building blocks of Pixar formed on shorts, and I hope you appreciate the image here, because again, before the films, there are the shorts. So there are the films, and before them are the shorts.
yes, Dragon. Scientifically, that's how it works.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of cute, and it was a nice little image. All right, so
Z and K, we are not doing Mater's Tall Tales or any of that.
So, and again, so there's anything that is like from like characters that have been in the films that doesn't like a main, like obviously any Toy Story shorts or the like Doug's special mission, that would not count either, or like Mike's new car, all that based on the films. We're talking like original shorts, I guess, being the other way to put it. All the original shorts, man.
All right.
Yeah. So you're going first.
Okay, I'm going first. All right. So 20 through 16. Dragon, this category is basically the ones that I haven't watched a ton of. So I don't really have a ton of opinions about them. What do you know?
Now pay attention, folks, because unfortunately we're not going to throw them on the screen one by one here. So hit them with it.
All right. Honestly, number 20 and 19 are kind of super interchangeable for me. Like, they're both very early Pixar. They're both charming in their own way, but there's just not a lot going on with them. Just very... let's see. Number 18, I went with The Adventures of Andre and Wally B. I still can't see the title of this short and not think of My Dinner with Andre. But it is a fun short, and I do think for being one of their very, very first projects, it's pretty impressive considering how many characters are involved. It is pretty much a straight up story. It's pretty ambitious for its day.
I'm sorry. Could you tell me what 20 and 19 were just once more?
20 was Tin Toy, 19 was Knick-Knack.
Okay.
Mostly on the basis that I find those two shorts to be very similar to each other. They came out around the same time. They both kind of feel like tech demos. I had a super hard time kind of trying to differentiate them. All right. Next up, number 17. We have Sanjay's Super Team, the first modern one. And, I don't dislike this one at all. I do think the cultural parts of it are really cool. Certainly another kind of like cultural director that I wouldn't mind seeing a feature film. But at the end of the day, this one just doesn't jive with me. The source material, the subject matter. I'm sure for wrestling fans, it's really heartwarming. But for me, it was all right. Just all right.
What do you mean wrestling? Do you get like superheroes?
Well, superhero fans, I mean. Yeah. Sorry. And then number 16. I promise I'm gonna have more to say about literally all the other ones. Red's Dream. I haven't seen this one a lot. It's very old school Pixar. Very charming in its own right. But still kind of archaic. Again, these early Pixar ones I struggle with just because they are so simple, and they are mostly tech demos when it comes down to it. But Red's Dream definitely does have more symbolic qualities to it than a lot of the other ones in the early era, so I give it credit there. All right, Tracy. What?
I'm now realizing our lists are going to be very different.
That's totally fine.
All right.
What's your number 20 through 16?
Well, one parameter I want to set with mine, again, I all of these shorts are not a bad short in the bunch, in my humble opinion. I don't think there's like a bad short in the bunch, but again, some have to go on the bottom of the totem pole, folks. So again, and as Tiki said with some of his picks already, some of them very interchangeably, kind of like on the level with each other. And that they were of such a quality of like, you know what? I mean, it could have gone either way. It was kind of neck and neck, and it's kind of how I'm feeling in the moment, sort of thing. So, okay, let's see. Number 20 for me, The Adventures of Andre and Wally-B.
Oh, okay. Nice.
This was done by Alvy Ray Smith, and yeah, this one's pretty much just it was literally the building block. It was the first brick for Pixar. It was literally like, let's go to SIGGRAPH, let's show them we can do, and basically prove that we can. Instead of doing like Ed Catmull showing us what the hand looks like in CG, let's do some characters. And also, it does encapsulate, just to speak to its quality, though, and some kind of stick-worthiness, encapsulates my fear of bees. I have a petrifying fear of bees, and this, I don't know if this is entirely the cause of that, but it was kind of most artistically represented, like, oh, God, it's just menacing him, just looking at him all smiling, like, hey, you can't do anything to me, buddy. Like, that, oh, it's so terrifying. So, yeah, not much to it, just a demonstration of the environments and just a little bit of character animation with the geometric shapes and such. A little squash and scratch, a little chasey chase, not much to it. Number 19, Piper by
Piper. Okay. Hot take.
Well, again, not a hot take. I said they're all great, so it's kind of it's a lukewarm.
No, I'm just saying Piper's pretty recent, pretty high up there. All right.
So Piper, Alan Barolaro did this, and this basically, this is attached to Finding Dory. This has like, this one is very much playing with the whole new photorealistic standards that Pixar had developed at this point in time. And yeah, another thing with the shorts, folks, is kind of celebrate the history of the shorts as we go along here. Yeah, remember the shorts were also kind of a way of testing the new animation software they have reflected in the films that kind of follow them in a really kind of neat way. The shorts were kind of a way of, okay, let's test this out. You kind of like do a little statement, kind of a little warm up refresher before we dive into the feast that is the feature. But yeah, this it looks great. Again, I think the story is conveyed nicely. I do, it's the whole fear and trepidation in the face of change. The relatable growth that we all go through in life. It's essentially it's a teach a man the fish story. With a little baby Piper, and it's adorable. And look at those little tiny sand crabs. There's the sand crabs, man, and the Tide money shot.
I mean, to me, I can't rank this in the bottom 5 just for the technology alone, the technology and the cute factor.
Well, I'm saying it's kind of the same principle as Andre and Wally-B. It's a tech demo, only a higher tech demo. It's the difference.
All
right. So, number 18, Lava. So, Lava was done by James.
Oh, boy. No. God.
I told you they were going to be different.
Yeah. Oh, man. Our lists are going to be really different. Okay.
I knew you were going to place this one. I assume high.
Strap in, folks. Strap in.
And
It might
again,
not be number one, but it's very high up.
I have no negative things to say about any of these. Just to preface that, okay, I got nothing against Lava. It's just I like the others more. This is the same principle. This is the same principle as yours. When I'm going through the shorts, Lava not on the top of my list, but that's just
fair.
me.
That's fair.
Anyway, so I mean, basically, again, this is kind of like again, a lot. Some of the tech demos are a little lower. Some of the tech demos. In this case, this is very much like, hey, we made geography cool and to show how volcanoes work in a really cool way. The time lapse money shot, it's very mind bendingly cool. Obviously we need music in this, so because the character is inactive. The character's inactive. It's either that or he's going to be really chatty talking to himself, which is not going to be cinematic at all. So we make it an artful song. But I love what this thing's about, though. I really do. I'm touched. It touched me on a personal level, thematically. How this is just like love just being right out of reach, just a little tease, a little glimpse at, and like the fused volcano shot at the end. Oh man, put it on a painting. It looks great. All right, number 17, Sanjay Super Team.
All right. Hey, we pretty much had it at the same spot.
So, Sanjay Patel did this. This came before The Good Dinosaur. On the surface, least interesting theatrical short, most likely. Probably the least interesting. But I love how he hits, again, this one was one of the examples of kind of the personal kind of connect to the filmmaker in question. Sanjay literally put himself in the short. On the surface, maybe a little uninteresting, but it's that relatable kid thing of, you're playing with action figures or TV when you're supposed to be doing grown-up stuff. And looking back on this, it's just it's the interesting cultural and religious connect, kind of connect or disconnect in the kid's case, to his heritage with, the Hindu, I believe it's Hinduism, I think, in this. Anyways, the fact that the kids accidentally, I just love the subtlety in how we're showing how we act impacts others. The kid accidentally hurts his father's feelings by just being completely dismissive of the tradition. And he kind of makes it interesting for himself with the superhero fantasy. I don't know. It's a neat idea, and especially seeing that comes from a personal place. That's what kind of Sanjay brings to the table for me. So, lastly, number 16, Bounden.
Really? Okay.
I was really
I'm not
on the fence,
but I'm surprised.
I was on the fence of where to put Bounden because, if I'm being honest, I like it primarily because of the behind the scenes factor, which I don't think is necessarily
honestly same.
Because so the big thing here, like a lot of these shorts, but especially certain shorts on this list, a lot of them are very much driven by the directors. And Bud Lucky did practically everything on this thing. Bud Lucky was highly involved. Of course, Bud Lucky, the man who made Woody a cowboy. Otherwise, Woody would have been a ventriloquist dummy. It would have been a whole different film. So, again, they said this thing is like a loving testament to Bud Lucky, and I just find the making of this interesting. Just seeing a journeyman animator really put everything on screen and almost single handedly. I'm not saying everyone didn't help him, but it's the fact that he really drove the engine of this thing, and it's got a good moral about the whole what you think again kind of relates to the themes of The Incredibles to a degree here, where you think if someone takes away what makes you special, are you still special? And again, our sheep kind of learns to bound. Basically, when life throws something at you and you get knocked down, you get back up in a kind of a jovial, bouncing fashion.
Yeah.
And the thing that always sticks with me of Bounding is the fact that Bud, it was pitched, I forget it was Brad Bird or Bud Lucky who pitched this, but that Rick Dicker would be the framing device and basically be playing a banjo, and he would be the narrator, like Bing Crosby does the
Sleepy Hollow.
No, Sleepy Hollow, exactly.
Yeah, totally.
All right.
Okay, next up
we had comments, Tiki. So do we want to?
We do. Let's see. Bounden feels so much like classic Sesame Street shorts. Indeed. He also says that recent raccoon short from Encanto reminded me of Piper a bit.
It did, for sure. I had that.
And then in the commentary for Red, I assume he means Red Stream, not Turning Red.
Yeah. Sorry, yeah. Believe me, I would be really shocked if, oh my God, did they finally get off their feet and put the commentaries on?
Right?
I know exactly what he's talking about. The director's commentary on Red. They said they were.
They said they deliberately going for a sad ending for sure.
Oh yeah.
Okay, let's go to 15 to 11. All right, let's see. My number 15 here is One Man Band. One Man Band is super entertaining, probably some of the best character animation that Pixar has done in their shorts. My one caveat with this and why it doesn't rank higher, and this is going to sound silly, I just think the character designs are a little off-putting.
That is really dumb, actually.
I know. Look, Dragon. At the end of the day, this was a really hard ranking. All right,
I told you.
this was a really hard ranking. So I was like, yeah, those character designs just don't do it for me. So I'm gonna keep bumping it down, bumping it down. All right, number 14 is Piper. You pretty much said it all. I mean, I don't know. I just think the photorealism mixed with the cuteness just kind of like, I think it deserves a spot outside of the bottom 5, but not much higher up than that. I will say I definitely think it pairs pretty well with the movie that it was paired with. So that was a plus for sure. Let's see. Number 13, The Blue Umbrella. This is pretty much Pixar's like, hey, look, you love the red umbrella, right? Well, we've got 2 umbrellas. I don't know. The Blue Umbrella is really it's a good short. It's a good piece of bringing animation to an inanimate object. It's just kind of like I've literally seen it before in live action in a more impressive way. So good. Pretty moving as far as the music goes. Still not top tier per se. All right, let's see. Number 12 would be Day and Night. Yeah. I really like Day and Night quite a bit. I think that weirdly enough, I think just because of the 2D, it doesn't necessarily feel like a traditional Pixar short, but I think that's a good thing. I think this is actually one of the Pixar shorts that first started experimenting with 2D and different art styles. And, the fact that a Pixar short didn't necessarily need to look like everything else that Pixar was doing at the time. I think it's a pretty simple, pretty Looney Tunes story. The story isn't going to like make me emotional or anything, but I still think it's a pretty good framework. And finally, number 11, For the Birds. For the Birds is hilarious. I do think it's a little bit overplayed. I do think that I enjoy Pixar's more cerebral films a little bit better, at least on the short side of things, shorts that really make me think and ponder my place in the universe. For the Birds does not do that, but it is damn entertaining. It features some of the all-time great character designs in a Pixar short. Just a comedy tour de force, and it very much deserved the Oscar that it won.
A manner of speaking, it's for the birds.
Oh God, yes. Right. Okay, Dragon.
Okay, this is where things really got tough in the rankings. I knew what my bottom 5 were going to be, no problem. This is where things like the middle chunk was the hard part for me. I think as most lists go.
I agree. I'm pretty set on my top 5, so we'll see how it goes.
Likewise, so it's so this is the thing. Like this kills me because again, I love this one. Again, I have nothing but nice things about all 20 of these things. Again, I don't mean to keep belaboring that point, but this one really hurt me to put at number 15. But it's like, yeah, if I'm stacking them, it kind of has to go here. So, The Blue Umbrella.
Yeah, I feel you.
You know how much I
put it higher.
Yeah, I love the Blue Umbrellas. This is
it's very visually striking for sure.
Shashka Unseld, if I'm saying his name correctly. Yes. So, first use of the global illumination software, I believe they started to institute with Monsters University, assuming they haven't slyly sneaked in anywhere before that. Yeah, of course. Apparently, this was inspired by like an umbrella in the streets of San Francisco. It's a very artistic take on the Pixar trend of personality, adding personality to inanimate objects, which obviously they went so far with, and it's paid out like the biggest slot machine in the world for them, and it's been wonderful. And basically, what always jazzed me about this, like we've taken one of the classic kind of trends of Pixar, and we've applied it on this amazing scope of not just an umbrella, folks. No, the whole cityscape. the whole cityscape. It's gonna be, and I'm just blown away by it because one, it was like for the first time, it's like, oh my god, look how far. I mean, I was jazzed in my mind watching it in the theater. It was like, oh god, this is the thing they were talking about with Finding Nemo, where they could have gone photorealistic, but they
Right,
chose not
right,
to.
yeah,
So I
yeah.
was seeing it on the screen for the first time, just being, oh my god, I genuinely, I don't know if they incorporate live action. Like Pixar has been inching there since Wall-E. Could they finally have done it? And it was just that impressive. And just seeing like, oh god, the character, the animations, the character within the cityscape of it all, and I'm still gobsmacked when I go back to this thing because beyond that, like, how are we getting more impressive? Well, it's raining, and that's really good rain animation, and
Yeah, yeah.
it's a love story between umbrellas, colored umbrellas, and just I feel the danger and the stakes of an umbrella in peril, and just, oh my god, he's just I'm risking it all for this red umbrella because she's gonna go in the tunnel and I'll never see her again. It's like Paper Man with actual stakes.
It is pretty much, it's very similar to Paperman, actually.
We hit the character with a cab. At least I think it was a cab. It was a windshield of some kind. We hit him with the windshield.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
So number 14, Lifted by Gary Rydstrom.
Ooh. All right. All right.
Again, it was tough.
I know. I know.
So this was before Ratatouille, and I believe, I could be wrong here, I want to say this is Gary Rydstrom's first short. Of course, Gary Rydstrom's the sound designer at Pixar. This is a big move for him. He went on to do the Toy Story Hawaiian Vacation.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, so again, just the relatable. This to me was super relatable. It's the relatable anxiety that we all have with any test whatsoever, particularly a driving test. I'd imagine. Let's just say any test. It just has this hilarious slant on alien abduction. Maybe doesn't always. It's like, what if an alien abduction doesn't always have like the Spielberg polish of a big glowing light outside the door, or maybe it doesn't always go off without a hitch. I love the control panel. You know, I mean, I'm a gadget nut. I love like the little, like, look at all those toggle switches. Look at him, and look how they're animating when he's moving his hands through them. And I'm pretty sure the model of the farmer is Linguini, but they won't say it, and I like it. It reminds me so much of Linguini, and I love like the Jonathan Banks quality to the teacher who's like Mr. B, because it's like based on a teacher Rydstrom had that always gave him a B, and the little green alien, his name is Stu apparently because he's a student. It's cute. A lot of love for Lifted, man. It's a delightfully kind of funny and simple short. Then we have number 13. Knick-Knack, directed by John Lasseter, and again, this was kind of repurposed for Nemo.
Yeah, like I said, man, with these really early ones, it's just hard for me to get a grasp on like where they fit in, especially considering how much has come afterwards.
I mean, yeah, to me, it's just kind of like it's a love letter to the Looney Tunes and the Warner Brothers cartoon physics of it all. I mean, I just find it just super funny. That's what it is. Even if it's kind of been surpassed visually in the years that have gone on, it's like, it's just this. The Knick-Knack choice in itself is fun because, yeah, you see those knickknacks all the time. So if you apply kind of the Toy Story logic to it at some point, like Pixar had done with their inanimate object kind of philosophy, is like, oh, yeah, what would the life of a knickknack be? We're going to look for So, my grandmother, she adores snowmen. My father loves Pixar snow globes. So this kind of lined
perfect.
So again, I definitely got a soft spot for Knick-Knack for a couple of reasons there. I honestly think ultimately Knick-Knack is just a very well conceived joke that Lasseter's telling here with just the emergency exit gag kills me every time. Just the fact that when he's falling, it's like emergency exit. He could, and just and also it's kind of the lighter version of Lava to a degree. It's like you're feeling trapped. Only in this case, it's much more literal and played for comedy. So Knick-Knack's just funny as heck to me. And number 12, One Man Band. I think you pretty much I don't think you gave really good reasons. I'm going to give a better reason. So I love the pacing and the storytelling on this. I think the music, very obviously, very important. The Gadget Fiend to me appreciates, just in general, a one-man band design. Like, look at all those instruments. How can you play them all at once? It's got to have like a system rigged up. Got the answer Z and K Channel's earlier comment about, the violinist looks like grew after a diet. So you got bass and treble, which is a cute play on their instruments. Treble is the violinist who has my favorite gadget of all, where he has like this little Jack-in-the-Box beggar's cup that comes out, like the Jack in the Box's hat comes off like a beggar's cup. It's cool. And he's the one who looks like Gru on the diet, by the way, the violinist. So the little girl conveys so much, and I just love like the demanding restitution gag. It's like a very Peanuts kind of moment in a Pixar short. Just very funny, and also again, Andrew Jimenez and Mark Andrews did this. Mark Andrews is one of my favorite kind of story men at Pixar when he shows like the man kills a board like you've never seen. So he's flourished. He's absolutely felt the energy and the pacing on this. So one man band's very, very delightful. And number 11, Red's Dream.
Okay.
So Red's Dream is kind of, I mean,
it's like an early example of a more ambitious Pixar short. You know
precisely.
what I mean?
Tiki, you said it right on the nosy. It's the big turning point in the early shorts, and it's like the short out of the whole lineup that it's like, if I'm going through them, it's like I just can't stop thinking about Red's Dream, because again, it is that turning point. I have a great fondness for the vintage look that still impresses, because that bike shop, it's like it's a retroactive minimalist style. It wasn't minimalist at the time, but now it kind of is, and it served it well. You know, it's like a Trojan horse of something silly for the kids, but has like adult emotions. And again, it's the ambition of this short does not have a happy ending, which always stuck with me. It's just like the unicycle in concept, and what we reflected in the stories that the unicycle is the sad clown of bicycles, and we reacted that so well. Like, it's a bicycle that's 50% off because it's half a bike. Just love it. I mean, this is like John Lasseter was camping on. This is like the Lasseter camping under his desk at the Point Richmond. Not even Point Richmond. That's the early days of Pixar. Oh my god, I just love the vintage quality to this thing so much.
Okay, cool. Yeah. All right, that's all yours.
Well, it's up to 11. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Also, just to do another couple comments from ZNK, he says, I love the sound effects on For the Birds, just a bunch of kitty bike horns.
Yeah, the squeaking kind of squawking noise, yeah.
But also, he says, I think Johnny Fedora and Alice Blue Bonnet did Blue Umbrella better. Dragon, do you remember that short?
Not particularly.
Okay, it was on, I'm not surprised, because it was on Make My Music. And
well, that would be why.
Yeah, is literally the one film from the Walt Disney Animation canon that is not on Disney Plus. But ZNK, I will agree. I actually really like that short a lot. That short really was kind of like a big. I think with Make My Music, there's definitely a couple shorts that were up there for me with that film, and that one was definitely one of them. All right. Okay, so getting towards the top half here, my number 10 through 6. Let's do it. Number 10, we've got Luxo Jr., the one that started it all. I mean, what more needs to be said here, man? It's like, it really does do a good job of telling a whole story in just a handful of moments. Obviously, the technological innovation is just totally off the charts. Probably the most iconic of all the Pixar shorts. I mean, the things in the logo, for God's sakes. I just couldn't put it higher just because I feel like all the other shorts I have above it are a little bit more transcendent, but still definitely a very, very, very iconic short in its own right. One for the record books. I think it'll go down in filmmaking history, to be sure. All right, number 9, Presto. Dragon, this to me is like the more likable version of One Man Band. Does that make sense?
I mean, Tiki, I think it's broad and cartoony. I don't think it's necessarily just like a different version of it. I just think it's in the same vein as that.
It's definitely in the same vein, and for whatever reason, I just enjoy this one a lot more than One Man Band. I can't really say why. Again, I think the character designs work a lot more here, so there you go. I don't know what to tell you. I also really like the whole idea of the rabbit in the hat getting to put on the show. I think that's a very fun concept. Very Pixarian, if you will, in its own right. I love the setting. I love the theater. I definitely think this has a lot of atmosphere to it. It's one of the shorts that's kind of a little bit more on the comedic side, but I still think it has the visual atmosphere to to sort of make it stand out. All right, and number 8, probably one of the big reasons we're doing this list to begin with, it's Bao. All right, now Bao Dragon, this could be number 1, right? Like, it really could be. It really could be. The only reason I don't put it at number 1 is because it's too sad.
It's so sad.
It's so sad. But seriously,
you know, it's funny because we have a Farmiga-esque looking character in that short.
We do. But I love Bao. I love the fact that it gave us Turning Red. I'm curious to see what your thoughts on Turning Red are. I have seen it already. I'm not going to reveal my thoughts on it quite yet. But suffice to say, I think Bao is definitely a good indication of a creator who could do a short, transition that style into a feature film flawlessly. I really think the storytelling here at play is tragic. It might be one of the most emotional of all these shorts. Dragon, like I said, really at the end of the day, the reason it's not in my top 5 is just because due to the dramatic nature of it, I don't find myself going back to it as much. But it's still fantastic.
I'm going to quote the Penguin here. Have you no poetry or drama in your soul?
All right, finally, number 6, we have Bounden. Yeah, I mean, pretty much for every reason you listed. You know what's funny, Dragon, is that I was not really that into this the first time I saw it in front of The Incredibles. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this is the first Pixar short to have like a big emphasis on dialogue, right?
Give me. I we can just look at it on the screen here, man. Like, what do you see?
I mean, I'm pretty sure. I just want to make sure that nothing came along that I'm missing.
No, you're on. Yes, it's laid on.
So I think that in itself really threw me off. I'm like, oh my god, who's this big jackalope character? And he's singing. And I will say that I did kind of get some vibes, some Sesame Street vibes that
which makes sense because Bud Lucky, you know.
Indeed, that Z and J was getting. But the more time that goes by, the more I appreciate this thing. And obviously the Bud Lucky connection is a big part of why I appreciate it so much. But it's not the only reason. I really like this as like a slice of like frontier Americana. It feels like the type of thing that Disney would make all the time in their package film era that they just don't make at all anymore. It really does feel like a throwback to a completely different style of animation, even if it is technically animated in CG. Yeah, I just think it's just really fires on all cylinders. I do think it's still a little bit awkward as Pixar's first short to heavily feature dialogue, but it's a lot of fun, man. I keep coming back to it. I keep having a good time with it. All right, and number 6, we've got Lifted. And yeah, Dragon, you pretty much summed everything up with Lifted. I think it's a really, really heady short that also has a lot of comedy to it. I like those two things kind of going at it with each other. I like, the headiness kind of clashing with the comedy to a certain extent. I feel like that's the sort of thing that kind of gets you in the mood for a Pixar movie, just in general. So yeah, I really like the how isolated this all feels out in the middle of the farm. Of course, the would-be Linguini cameo is always amusing. Yeah, just all in all, just a very good short here. Not quite in the top 5, but still just itching to be in that company.
All right, before we go on here, as Ian K he pulls a Bud Lucky quote, which is a good quote. I'm very glad he pulled it. He says, "I like to think that I used animation to teach kids numbers, and now today, kids are using numbers to teach me animation."
Indeed.
Adorable.
All right.
So I'm up then, right?
Yeah, you're up. Last top 5.
Well,
oh wait, no, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
10 through 6. I jumped the gun there.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Why am I even here? Okay, so number 10, Tin Toy. So, yes, of course, from John Lasseter. Again, the origins of Toy Story, folks. Tin toy, very key in the fabric of Pixar and what Pixar would become. Just the big old shining light bulb of let's shift perspective and observe life for a moment and ask the question, what's playtime from a toy's perspective? And again, a lot of the roots of Toy Story 3 ultimately are from Tin Toys. They got a lot of mileage out of Tin Toy. It's kind of like the more cynical version of Toy Story, and again, ultimately, what we showcased in kind of the kind of horror sequence in Toy Story 3 with the younger kids, which are going to be a lot more less delicate with their toys. Um, I think there's just such a human moment in this. Look, obviously, the big thing everyone points to with Tin Toy when they look back on it is like, yeah, they took a risk with the baby. Which here's the thing, though, when you look at the baby, I believe Baby Billy, because Bill Reeves, he's the guy who did the character models, and I believe back in the day, what he primarily did is he scanned in the models, before they could fully just build them on the computer. You have like a clay sculpt, you scan them in, that's how you get the model on the computer. That's how the original Toy Story was made. So, my point, anyway, so the baby, yeah, very unrealistic again, but it was a stab in the '80s at it. But the big thing is how the baby moves. The movement holds up like that thing, while still a little unbaby looking, moves exactly like a baby, and it's just crazy to me. And also, like, I love like how the tin toy moves, where it's like a thing where, like, if you have like a toy car, so like a tin car or something, when you reel it back, it has like the little gear motion, like zoop, it goes forward. It can't just go backwards. Tinny can't go backwards without like the mechanism, like hitting the drums and the one man band thing. Like, there was a lot of great thought that went into this, and just on a character level, I marvel at the human moment of Tinny putting himself at risk to comfort the child that's fallen and crying, even though he's been terrified of this thing, and backfires, and he gets replaced by a box in a bag, and it's hilarious. I I just I think ultimately, looking back on Tin Toy, I could be crazy here. I think it's a metaphor for fearing parenthood and then ultimately embracing it, where he's
Oh,
fearful of the child, and then he kind of embraces, like, he's trying to cheer the child up, and he's still like in the game, like, hey, pay attention to me, hey, do what I want to do, hey. So yeah, okay, number 9, Partly Cloudy. So this was done by Pete Sohn. I adore the world building and concept of this so much. It's just an inventive answer to the age old question every kid has asked at least once in life: where do babies come from? Best answer ever. This short. Just show them this. It's just this comedy of stork can't catch a break, gets styled with the animal babies, and none of them friendly. Yeah, I just love like the dynamic between him and Gus the Clown, and just the fact that the emotional complexity of this really kind of gets me. Where Gus tries as he might, he just stinks at his job. He's just not good at it. And I think ultimately, this short is about loving people despite their flaws, which is really good. And just again, the cloud animation again is a testing grounds for stuff we're going to have in the features, like up obviously with the clouds and everything, and going in the sky with the balloons. Is like cloud animation and the creationism of the clouds, and like we can create matter and things and life itself inside these little clouds. Very marvelous. All right. Number 8, For the Birds. Yeah, I completely forgot that Ralph Eggleston directed this, because I always knew Eggleston did like kind of other production aspects. I didn't know he animated. Well, that's the thing. He usually does like the color scripts, I believe. He did the art direction. So yeah, very iconic design work with the egg-shaped birds. I think a lot of the reason it's so high up for me is honestly the iconography of it all, and that it's super funny. The way we convey like all these birds kind of have like they're very differing personalities, but then they all unify. Like, we don't like this big bird wannabe. We don't like him. We want to peck his feet so he falls. And just the reason for the birds has to be like in the top 10 for me. It's just that the perfect flawless timing on the birds just realizing, like, oh god, just putting two and two together, that wait a minute, this guy's weighed us down and gravity is going to take effect. Like, the cause and effect's going to happen here. It's like, no, stop backing. And it's just priceless to me. I just love the staging. This is just like, like like one of the comedy shorts of the shorts. All right. Number 7, Presto by Doug Sweetland. Doug Sweetland, animator extraordinaire, really got to show what he can do. It is very Looney Tunes-esque, in the cartoony antics, and it's fun to see, Pixar do that from time to time with something like this in one-man band. Again, fits the vaudeville magic act. Like I love like the puns on, like the magician's name is Presto, the rabbit's name is Alec Azam. It's just it's just some great kind of interdimensional kind of spatial comedy with like how the whole pulling the rabbit from the hat thing works with actual magic. Just a really fun conceit, and also a good PSA to lunch matters, kids. Don't cheat people out of magic. I think looking back on it would really what really kind of gets me on this. It gives me like vibes of Professor Hinkle from Frosty. Just the cheesy magician and the rabbit kind of turned on him too, which is kind of funny. Just again a lot just beautiful fluid slapstick comedy, but also I like that the rabbit saves the magician from falling to death. Just shows you, I'm mad at this guy, but I don't want him to get killed. And I guess lastly, number 6, Jerry's Game. Again, this was almost in the top 5, folks. This one was a very interchangeable one. Like 5 and 6, they were very switchable.
I'm just going to go ahead and say my number 5 is Jerry's Game as well, so we can pretty much tag team this.
Okay. Okay. So Jan Pinkava directed this. This is the guy who originally is the French director who originally did Ratatouille before he got replaced with Brad Bird, which is interesting. I've always loved. How do you feel about Jerry's Game, man?
I mean, I think it's iconic. I think it's like a popular choice for the best Pixar short, honestly.
I mean, it's kind of like it makes me want to watch it. The more if it pops up, man, I want to watch Jerry's Game because I like. Jerry's Game.
Just because I feel like the animation is so striking, and I feel like the character work is so endearing. It really does just kind of speak for itself on a lot of layers.
Yeah, I mean, with Jerry, it's the go-to classic short, and again, it was the most intimate home video short that you had. Particularly, I know it was released in theaters as well, but it's like when you watch A Bug's Life, and it just kind of pops up, it's like, oh man, how delightful! It was like kind of the introduction to shorts, like for me, practically Jerry's Game.
Right.
And I love one of my favorite Pixar Easter eggs is in this. I love the cigar box that says, Point Richmond, Pixar shorts. And it's like literally on a little box holding the chess pieces, which is adorable. And adorably, Jerry comes back in Toy Story 2, voiced by Jonathan Harris, doing the guy who fixes Woody.
ZNK says Jerry is such a fantastic character. How can you not love that old kook? And yeah, I really do think that's a big part of this is just how well defined his character is.
It's like an Andy Kaufman short to a degree. It's just a wonderful, quirky premise of an old man playing chess against himself, but he really commits to it. And then also the first time we're animating the elderly in a Pixar short film.
Indeed,
it's in a Pixar film, and in general, it just got the timing just right. The thing we got to marvel at for a moment here, the editing, man, how perfect! That might be some of the best editing in a Pixar short.
I would wager to say it's maybe some of the best editing in Pixar, period.
Wonderfully crazy, a short. I mean, like no ordinary person would say, yes, do the short with the.
And I mean, it gets you invested in the game that is just happening between himself.
Yeah, like there should be it's like, and honestly, the bit that always got me is he fakes his own death. And just after that happens, the other himself is like, check. Oh God, wait, how does that work?
right.
It's just wonderful. It's just a wonderfully crazy bit. It's a thinker of the short. It's the thinker of the shorts for sure. But I dig it. Now we have some other comments we should probably highlight.
Let's see. ZNK says, even though I know it isn't him, the cloud always sounds like he's Jeff Garlin. Then Little Blue says, hello there. Just thought I'd stop by since you guys are talking Pixar shorts. And did you know about the Statler and Waldorf cameo in Presto Dragon?
I gotta be honest, yes, but I've never been able to spot them. I've heard about it, but I've never looked verbatim. I've heard that they're there.
All right. Okay, so we're going to go through the top 5. As you know, my number 5 was Jerry's Game, so I'm going to rattle off my top 4 really quick. Number 4, Partly Cloudy. I mean, for pretty much the reasons you listed, Dragon, I feel like as far as world building goes, it doesn't get much better than this with a Pixar short. It definitely has a lot of childhood fantasy to it. Not just the where do babies come from thing, but also just what is above the clouds? What do clouds look like? How do clouds move? I know that even as a grown-ass man, I can be on an airplane and still kind of like have flights of fantasy about that kind of stuff. And I think this short just really illustrates that perfectly. I really think it's one of the more playful and fantastical in Pixar's catalog. All right, number 3. This is a big one for you, Dragon. I know it. It's Lou. Of course, about a lost and found. Hey. I mean, God, I think this one kind of speaks for itself. I feel like it has a really, really powerful reveal at the end with the lost and found of it all. It's just one of those, it almost feels like a dare of like, Pixar animators just like animate a box of lost and found and give it character. And they did it. They absolutely did it tenfold, and it works wonderfully. Okay, finally, number 2, La Luna. I love La Luna so much. I really think it's just absolutely freaking gorgeous. All the imagery and visuals just stick in my mind so hard. I think the characters are super lovable. I love the fact that the style is so similar to Luca, because it really does allow you to trace that filmmaking. And I also think that La Luna just in general was one of the big kind of first steps that we've gotten with the new initiative to bring Pixar short directors into the mainstream working on feature films. And number 1, Dragon, you know it, you love it. Was it ever going to be anything else? It's Lava.
Really, number 1?
Number 1, yes.
I thought it was gonna be. I thought your number 2 might have been your number 1. I thought La Luna might have made it.
It was close. Dragon, lava is everything. All right, it's to me.
Put that on the poster. Lava is everything.
I really just the stuff that I love about lava. I love the character animation. The song I think is wonderful. Yes, the time lapse animation is freaking fantastic. Did I mention the scale of it? And the fact that it was played before Inside Out. I mean, we haven't really talked enough about that as far as the shorts, the movies that the shorts played with. But I think Inside Out is like the perfect film for this short to play with, because it's a little bit of comedy, it's a bit tragic, there's some music. It really does give you a great kind of a great taste of what's to come for Inside Out. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. I might be hard pressed to find a short that rivals this one, especially because we're kind of muddying the waters with the Spark shorts. And hey, some of these movies just won't have shorts. So with that in mind, I don't know. I think Lava is going to be my number 1 for a while. All right.
So that brings it to me then.
Yep.
Okay, number 5 for me. Again, folks, I'll stand behind any of these pictures on the list in total. So the top 5 were really tricky. My top 3, any of 3 of the 3 could have been number 1. So I just threw a lot of numbers at you. I apologize. So number 5, La Luna, by Enrico Casarosa, of course, the director of Luca. And again, this essentially gives us Luca. Kind of like, hey, let's give this guy a movie. What do you want to do? The Italian Riviera? You got it. So yes, this is played before Brave. This is, again, La Luna, it's 3 generations of assumedly Italian fishermen, or I guess kind of star janitors, as they kind of end up being, I guess, because they're kind of sweeping up. Just so authentic to a kid trying to impress and kind of be like his male role models with, again, the grandfather and the father. Fun fact: Tony Facilli, one of the great, the Italian animator that Pixar's had, I believe, since Toy Story 2. I don't know if he was there before that. Tony Facilli. He's done a little bit of voice work here and there for Pixar. If I recall, he's the voice of Guido. He's Guido. He was the Italian grocer in Monsters Inc. who threw him the fruits on the way to work. That guy. Anyway, so he pops up from time to time, and he voiced the father here. And it's the fact that I think we did such a great job of the caricature design with the mustache and the beard. That kind of looks like the sweeper and the broom. Again, I love that ultimately this is about a kid. We have we have dialogue, but it's not really like intelligible dialogue, and it's presumably just kind of a garbled Italian of some sort.
Uh-huh.
And I just like that we're kind of feeding that through the filter of a kid, and it would be kind of like that because ultimately it's just kind of adults. Like you get the character before you get like what the dialogue is, even if you couldn't understand the language. I really like that they kind of found a beautiful balance of that. There is the music. Giacchino's score is just sublime on this. I mean, there's such an ethereal beauty to this. Like this short, if you think about it, doesn't make sense, but it doesn't have to. It's kind of like the best way to sum it up. Like it's the illogical logic, which I adore with any Pixar film. Of just like, how do we get a crescent or a full moon? Like, how do we get all the shapes and the different phases of the moon? Well, someone's gonna have to do it. Someone's gonna have to do it and kind of shift the light. And it's like all these falling stars. It's just there's just a lot to it, and again, I like ultimately, it took the kid doing things his own way to solve a big problem, and it's kind of like a good lesson to take away from things. Just and the kid gets his own, like it's like a rake, it's like he's charting his own course, and that's just delightful. La Luna's a very artful, very very beautiful. Okay, number 4, Luxo Jr. So yeah, I it was kind of tricky because I knew Luxo Jr. is literally the rock that we built the church on. I mean, and technically, technically it's Andre and Wally B, but we literally get the logo from Luxo Jr. And Luxo Jr. is where everyone really in the animation community really kind of like sat up in their chairs, like, oh my god, what's this? It's so darn simple. Little lamp pops a balloon, pops a ball, like a balloon, gets sad, goes after a bigger ball. 2 minutes. Not a whole lot of time
I think
to do
the
anything.
get sad thing is what makes it.
It is, and that's what I'm saying.
It's super simple, but it's so filled in pathos in its simplicity.
It's the fact that you feel empathy for a lamp, and just how much humanity. Being the first time they did this, the first time before there were toys, before there were knickknacks, before there was any of that, before there was a cityscape, we gave so much humanity to an inanimate object, and it made you feel something. And again, there's an understood perennial aspect with the Luxo seniors kind of like nodding and just like, oh god, it's like just it's just delightful. It's the range of emotion and arc in 2 minutes, and it still holds up 36 years later, and strong enough to be the logo of Pixar. Kind of encapsulates what they were in the animation industry. We can be cute and appealing and brimming with enthusiasm. That's who we are. If we stumble, we're by God, we might stumble in figuring out our story here, but we're gonna deliver in the end majorly and make everyone happy and just like, oh my God, they really achieved it. Wow, look at that. All right, number 3, Day and Night. So again, the top 3, any 3
Day
of them
and
could have
Night.
been. Yeah. Point being, any of these 3 could have been number 1. I got to be honest, at different points in time, they were, each of them at some time were probably my number 1s. If you asked me like to rank the number 1 Pixar short, any one of these 3 would have been my number 1 at a point in time. Like I think the earliest point in time would have been Day and Night.
Uh-huh.
So Teddy Newton did this. Teddy Newton's a story man extraordinaire. I love seeing his boards. He's so good at it. He's the chatter telephone in Toy Story 3 for the kids out there. This is, again, technically the first time Pixar did 2D, albeit with kind of a genius incorporation of 3D, but it was the first time they did kind of 2D in a short. Again, it's the use of implied space with what the characters are projecting onto is just fantastic. The slapstick and the visual alone is fun, but what got me, and again, I think me versus you on this from what you said about earlier, is that it always got me. It's not just like the fun of them, like seeing each other's perspective and just the whole day versus night and them hanging out, like, dancing the music and everything. And by the way, the sound design on this, as their reactions and everything, like he's rubbing his eyes, like a little bike going by, like I love all of that. How we use audio in addition to the sound design leads to one of my favorite moments in all the shorts, period, man. And it just got me so much in the theater. This is even before Toy Story 3 started, where, of course, we're going to go everywhere, Toy Story 3. It's like, before the movies even start, you're going to hit me with this powerful, this doctor's kind of like lecture is going on here, like Dr. I forget his name, Dr. Wayne something. He's just giving this lecture on how we shouldn't fear the unknown. It's like the reaction on these 2 guys. We've kind of become buddies after again going through kind of like almost a Defiant Once journey to a degree, like a very economized version of it. Just the most beautiful things in the universe are a mystery, are like most mysteries. Anyways, the point being, like, like some of the most beautiful things are mysteries to us, something along those lines. Just seeing the shift in their reaction to this, just it's the shore is like friendship in the human condition embodied. It's kind of like Pixar. It's going to sound like a weird comparison. It's like Pixar's equivalent to how It's a Small World. It's like an anthem for peace. This is like a short for peace, man. This is like a short for world peace at the end, man. It's like we can look past our differences. We can respect our differences. We can get along. We can learn something from each other. And again, just being funny and having kind of like a deep moment like that at the end that kind of gets you. I was like, just really nice. Number 2, Bow.
I had a feeling this would be up there for you.
I know, it was a real toss-up number because I love Bow, but then it's like, oh man, am I putting Bow at number 1 because Turner Red just came out? Can I do that?
Yeah,
I don't know. So, Domeishi has directed this, and obviously, so good it landed Domeishi a feature in record time, might I add. I think the year this came out, it's like, hey man, you want a short? Yeah. I'm Tiki, probably the most moved I've ever been watching a Pixar short, easily.
I definitely think it's easily the most emotional of all of them. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I was so darn moved in the theater watching this. Just the crazy idea of like a bow comes to life, like a little dumpling, apparently the official name. Just it gets so legitimate. It's an absurd idea, just an utterly absurd, should not work, and yet it does. It's so legitimized in the authenticity in which we present this. We see like the full range of the parents' experience from essentially birth to empty nest syndrome, and in a big way. Toby Chu's score, man. Toby Chu does not get enough credit. And from what I understand, he doesn't get like the best work to do before this film in the animation, live action kind of films that he's been scoring. But dear God, Toby Chu just emotionally stabbed everyone in the hearts with like how with the feels, man. It I mean, I like the caricatured chibi design, which is really fun. The fact that it's legitimized by the fact that, again, it's kind of like it's a metaphor with the bow, so it can be a little like the large heads and little bodies, so it makes sense. The animation on the fiance just kills me. She's just kind of there, like, oh hey, just just kind of wanders in. Obviously, MVP, the whole complexity of the emotions here, just when she's just the profoundness of the mother eats her child, just the sheer crescendo that I gasped in the theater, man, audibly, like just like, oh my God. Just the fact that it's like every parent's worst nightmare, just kind of visually kind of shown here. Like, do you let your child go, or does your child die because you're not letting it live? And in fact, she ate it. Just the metaphor realization. Just this thing is so darn impressive. Just top tier Pixar at its finest. Like, yes, it's like, you think we're out after all these years? Heck no, we're not out. Look at all we got. Here's a 2018, man.
All right.
And lastly, finally, Lou.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I'm a little bit surprised that this is your number 1, but all things considered, I guess I'm not that surprised. I know how much it blew you away.
That it did. Dave Mullins, animator extraordinaire, did this. Short. One of the examples of a short vastly being superior to the film, and I liked Cars 3. I want to say that. I did like Cars 3. But that said, I'm saying, clearly the balance was not even on how good this short was to Cars 3, which Cars 3 had problems. Regardless, this paid tribute, I think, ultimately, I think the reason it's number 1 for me in ranking it was that this paid tribute to the early years and the foundational aspects of the Pixar shorts so well, and that it mixed in what they were doing then and what they're doing now with their shorts. It's kind of a perfect balance. It's animated masterfully. Like, Lou is simply clutter. Okay, and that is like an impossible task you would not want to assign to anybody, because like, how the heck do you animate that? He's just cluttered. He's not even like a toy. He's like clutter. How do I do that? And yet it's in 3D nonetheless, and it's conveyed. It conveys so much, and you build to the like when we build to the reveal of him, which is essentially like a junky version of E.T., which somehow works. Crazy chase sequence and everything. He takes I love that we pair him with this bully that takes toys, and he's an entity that saves toys, and it kind of finds a way to return them. And it's like,
Room's
the
kind of
bully.
going back to the basics with like the Toy Story Sid sort of situation.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Lou has everything, man.
Yeah.
I just love that, like the bully is we learn the bully is perpetuating his own trauma because his little dog plushie was taken away from him. And this is why Lou has to be a number one, is that Lou saves this kid, man. It's just, yet again, it's a profound payoff of that. Lou is impermanent. Lou is an impermanent character. He's not. If I'm reading it right, my assumption is that he's not the clutter, but he is the lost and found box that gives the clutter life. And he helps this kid. Essentially, this is gonna sound all stupid, and this is me just like looking for all sorts of meaning and everything. But it's like he helped this kid find the missing piece of himself to be complete, which is what a lost and found kind of does, I guess, in kind of the cosmic sense of what they're going for here. And he helped this kid be a better person while sacrificing his physical integrity of like, give all of me away, help me enrich the lives of these children. I'm a playground lost and found. It's what I do. None of this just said in dialogue. All of it just conveyed. Just beautiful, man. Again, I Dave Mullins. I really want Dave Mullins. I forget if Dave Mullins is one of the animators who was given a short. If not, we got to remedy that fast. Dave Mullins deserves a feature, man.
All right. Well said. Well said.
Hey, what comments? Do we have any comments we should
comments? Let's see. Not the only comment we have is Z&K says Tony from Monsters Inc. was Luigi.
Yeah.
I thought he was Ratzenberger.
No. That's the Abominable Snowman.
Also, Z&K says, I really like the sound effects for La Luna, like the glass tinkling of the stars, the shoe scuffing of the moon's surface. Also, that last shot has such a, what a sweet twist reaction. Indeed.
Yeah.
And then, let's see. Miscellaneous says, we'll have to listen to the whole thing later off the top of my head. Looking at the pics on screen, I'd maybe give it to Jerry's Game. All right. I think that's about it.
Okay.
Oh, also, Little Blue says, what artwork image is that with the characters looking out in the sky?
Yeah, I just kind of came across, and what we're going for is there is kind of they're looking, again, the shorts precede the film. So
is it a fan image?
Yeah, I believe so.
That's what I thought, yeah.
So we kind of tweaked
it's some
it
sort of fan art, Little Blue, just so you know.
Yeah,
so.
we've tweaked it somewhat, with stuff, but yeah, it looks really. I just like the idea that they're looking at the shorts that come before them anyway. So
indeed. All right,
it's a bad pun, but I'll stick by it.
All right, so big thanks to Z&K, Little Blue, and a very brief cameo by Miscellaneous for joining us tonight. Don't forget, folks, our Turning Red podcast is happening this Sunday. And yeah, until then, have a good night, everyone. See y'all later.